Good morning. We're looking today at Job 17 through 19. And the conversation continues, as it will for several more chapters between Job and his three understanding friends. I say understanding very sarcastically. But Job, in chapter 17, he's describing his condition as, one maybe to be pitied. It's just, he's really kind of down on where he's at right now, and understandably so. He says, "My spirit is broken, my days are extinct, the grave is ready for me." And he's ready for the grave as well, and he again will turn, I may as well be dead, but he says, "Who is there that will give surety for me, sympathy for me? Who is there that's going to understand? Who is there that's going to reassure me that I am righteous, that I have not done wrong against God?" And he says, and in a way he's still talking to God. He says, "Since you have closed their minds to understanding, therefore you will not let them triumph. Those who denounce friends for reward," and so he's not getting any empathy or sympathy from his friends, and he's kind of asking God, why not? Why not? He says, "He's made me a byword of the people. I am one before whom people spit." And to think about that, to think that you're not worthy of anything more than to be spit on, that's really bad, really down, and my eyes have grown dim from grief. My members are like a shadow. And, he's so distraught and filled with a righteous anger of sorts, I'm sure, that he says, "My days are past, my palms are broken. They turn night into day, and the light, they say, is near to darkness." And here, verse 14, "If I say to the pit, you are my father, and to the worm, you are my mother, or my sister, where is my hope?" So if you look to the things of the earth, if you keep looking at the bad and you say, "Well, where is my hope?" There is no hope in all of that. And, the hope is in God, and he doesn't say that right here, but when we're going to stop here now at the end of 17 with Job's, and in verse 8, chapter 18, Bildad then again comes back to Job. But as we get to the end of chapter 19, we'll again hear, and I'll talk about that in a second, we'll hear of Job's absolute faith in God. So Bildad says, "How long will you hunt for words? Consider, and we shall speak. Why are we counted as cattle? Why are we stupid in your sight?" And so these friends, Bildad especially, is feeling that Job thinks of him as stupid, as not understanding, and they're not. In many ways, they're not understanding Job. They're trying to reason with Job in some ways, but they're trying to get Job to agree and admit that he has done something he hasn't done. And sometimes in our world today, we get trapped in those situations as well. That our words get turned around on us, and somebody says, "Well, you said this," and, "Well, no, you didn't say that." And I know that from experience, that one person will say something and it's not exactly true, and everybody picks it up and says, "Yep." Well, no. When there are just people in the world that will tear you down, and those are the kind of people that we want to be able to refute them. We want to be able to stand up to them, but so often, our words go unheard. And this is what's happening for Job, that his words are going unheard. He says, Bildad says, "You should tear yourself in anger and the earth be forsaken." And then verse 5, he's really pointing his finger at Job. He says, "Surely the light of the wicked gets put out." So he's saying to Job, "You're wicked. You've done something wrong. The flame of your fire dies. The light is dark in their tent. Their steps are shortened. They're thrust into the net. A trap seizes them. You know, all of these things as they go on through the rest of chapter 18 are Bildad's statements of things that befall those who are wicked, those who have sinned, those who have done against God. And you know, I wonder sometimes, how righteous did these three friends think they were? Did they think that they were perfect in God's sight? I mean, calamity hadn't befallen them that we know of. I mean, Job was the one that for reasons unknown and understandable, you know, God held Job up as a righteous example to Satan. And you know, but the same thing hadn't happened to these three friends. You know, they still had everything. So they were trying to figure out, you're wicked. All of this stuff is happening to you, you know. You're torn from your tents, nothing remains. Your roots dry up, their branches wither. Their memory perishes on earth. You know, the wicked aren't remembered. It's not 100% true because of our history books, we know of different wicked leaders that have been. We know of Stalin, we know of Hitler, we know of, you know, so many that way who have mistreated their people. We know of countries and leaders who are totally neglecting their people. We know of these wicked people that way, but these are not the people that we want to hold up as examples. These are not the people that we want our children to grow up saying, I want to be like that person. And we find an awful lot of examples in our world today of people that our younger generation and our children look up to that, you know, really, why? I mean, these influencers that we have, most of them really aren't good influences. But anyway, Bildad is talking about all of the things that befall the wicked. You know, they are appalled at their fate. Horror seizes them. You know, they're dwellings of the ungodly. And then Job in 19 answers, how long will you torment me and break me into pieces with words? These 10 times you have cast reproach upon me. Are you not ashamed to wrong me? You know, you think about that. I mean, aren't you ashamed to wrong me? I mean, have you ever deliberately said something bad about a person that you knew wasn't true? That's wronging them. I mean, and men, if you do that, you should feel terrible about it, you know. But Job is saying, how don't you feel bad? You're deliberately defacing me to my face. You're saying all of these things, you know. And then he says, even if it is true that I have erred, my error remains with me, you know. And you know, so he says, if it's true. And then if you magnify yourselves against me and make my humiliation an argument, then know that God has put me in the wrong and closed his net. But, you know, and so he's lamenting here again, you know, that God has walled up my way so I can't pass. He set darkness. He's stripped my glory. He's taken my crown. He breaks me down. He's uprooted my hope. He's kindled my wrath against me. You know, he has put my family far from me. I mean, Job is counting all of his losses. And his losses were tremendous. If you remember reading back, you know, what he had and then to have it all taken. His losses were tremendous. You know, the guests in my house have forgotten me. I called to my servant, but he gives me no answer. You know, he's got virtually nothing left, and he's admitting that. Even young children despise me. My intimate friends abhor me. So here, my intimate friends, these three friends that are there, abhor him, you know, and that, you know, you don't respect me. You're putting me down. You're tearing me apart. And then he says, verse 22, why do you, like God, pursue me, never satisfied with my flesh? And then we come to a tremendous statement of faith, one that I often read at a graveside as a burial. Oh, that my words were written down. Oh, that they were inscribed in a book. Oh, that with an iron pen and lead they were engraved upon a rock forever. For I know that my Redeemer lives, and at last he will stand upon the earth, and thus, after my skin has been destroyed, then from my flesh I shall see my God. So, I mean, all of this, all of his moaning and complaining and feeling down and feeling, totally the butt of everybody's joke, to say, he has that absolute faith in God that when his life is over, then from his flesh he shall see God. He has 100% trust in his salvation, in this God that he worships, and he doesn't give up on it. He says, my heart faints within me. If you say, how will we persecute him? The root of the matter is found in him, and he's afraid of the sword. He says, know that there is judgment. But that statement of faith, right there in Job, is one that we hold so dear, that when this life is over, then from my flesh I shall see my God. And we read that and we trust that, at the last he will raise me and all of the dead, and we will live forever in eternity with him. And that's the promise of God in Jesus Christ, that we will not perish, but have everlasting life.